After our stop with Maurice Sharp, we left early the next morning to visit a couple Maya ruins in San Ignacio. There are Maya sites literally all over Belize. San Ignacio has some right in the middle of town.
So we're in San Ignacio right now. We're walking around, gonna look for some breakfast. After that, we're gonna go check out some Mayan ruins, Xunantunich and Cahel Pech. Let's do it.
Getting from one place to another in Belize, tourists can flash back to public transit Maya style.
Gotta get some momentum going. See these motors? That's for cheaters. Now we're on the other side.
So this is the name of the site, Xunantunich. It's actually two Maya words that are put together. You have Xunan and Tunich. Xunan being lady or maiden, and Tunich being stone.
And you were saying about the X, how to pronounce X?
X in Maya, when it's placed next to a vowel, you pronounce it with an SH. So if you imagine it's SHU, Xunantunich. It's the same thing if you have it like an IX, it's Ish, like one of the goddesses. Ishchel is IX. So it's pronounced with an SH sound.
I dated a girl named Ishtel one time. I was very careful. She's the goddess of fertility.
We'll have a lot of kids. This is Plaza A, the main plaza. It's actually flat and level, but this one here is pretty unique because early on in its occupation, that big structure in the middle there, that wasn't there. The rulers, the elite lived behind the main structure, El Castillo. Later on, as they continued to occupy and they started to have problems in the site, the rulers actually commissioned this building to be built to restrict the access from the public to where they live. So they're trying to give themselves a little privacy because there's a lot of conflict between the rulers and the regular Maya. The Maya that were here, even though we say the site was abandoned, most of them continued to live in this area. They didn't die or they didn't disappear, they didn't go back out of space like some people claim, because you get people that believe that. But they continued to live in Belize, they continued to flourish even when the Europeans came. Sites in the north, in the northern lowlands, were flourishing in the Yucatan part of Mexico. And even today, we have three groups of Maya in Belize, the Mopan Maya, Kek'chi Maya, and Yucatec Maya. In Guatemala and Mexico, there's millions more Maya. So the Mayas are still here. They didn't just disappear, but their descendants are here. But when this was occupied by the Maya, there were very little, if any, trees at all. All of this was cleared. What we're walking on, this grass, this would have been with a nice thick plaster, and it would actually lean and drain to one side and would collect in a reservoir.
Believe it or not, towns like San Ignacio were much more densely populated during the Maya period than they are now. About 334,000 people live in Belize today, compared to about 400,000 Maya living here in 700 AD.
This is the base of El Castillo. In Spanish, it's a castle. El Castillo is referred to as a multi-purpose complex. Typical to the Maya, they either built in the form of an onion, where they were one layer on top of another, or like a cake, where they were one on top of the other.
One interesting thing about Xunantunich is that it was on the rise at the same time most other Maya cities in the region were on the decline. Scholars think that the reason might be that Xunantunich was a satellite of an older city called Naranjo, a sort of fast-growing suburb that eventually became more powerful than Naranjo and took it over.
Now, when the Maya would climb it, they would climb it with reverence because the steps are big and the Maya were average of about 5 feet. They would either climb, hands and feet, or the rulers would climb in a zigzag pattern like a serpent going up.
So what else is the significance of serpent?
The Maya conducted a lot of bloodletting ceremonies where they would pierce themselves or cut themselves. The ruler would pierce his penis with the spine of the stingray. It would drip onto paper from the bark of the fig tree, and they would burn that. And because it was soaked in blood, it would actually burn like red almost. And that smoke would go up, and it wouldn't go straight up. It would actually create a serpentine motion as it's going up. And it's their connection to them and the gods. It's the blood that the ruler spills. So the serpent was actually something that they associated with the leader, with kingship, with linking them to the gods. So the serpent was very important for them. The sun god was called Kinichahau. There's several features. If you notice the eyes, you see the pupils, how the pupils are actually pointing towards the nose bridge. This is the cross-eyed effect I was telling you about.
Is that significant that he has crossed eyes?
That was something that the Maya used to practice because they believed the sun god had cross-eyed. They would actually create that effect in their kids. They would dangle a bead in front of the baby's eyes and the baby would focus on that. So the elite family, the children had cross-eyed.
Permanently?
Yeah. And they also did something with the skull. When the baby was born, because the bone is not so hard, they would put a plank on the front, they would put a strap around and tighten it as the baby grew, giving him a flat, elongated head, like a cone head type.
In addition to Belize, the Mayan civilization was spread across other countries in present-day Central America, plus parts of the Yucatan Peninsula and southern Mexico. Similar to ancient Greece, there were many different Maya city-states.
Everything that the Maya built, all the material was brought in by people. There were no animals, there were no beasts of burden, there were no machines or technology to lift up the stones and bring it. Somebody had to carry it up on their backs. So everything that we're standing on, the dirt, the backfill that went in to level off the areas, the stones, the stucco, the plaster, everything was brought up by somebody. So there's a lot of work, a lot of coordination that went into building these structures, and it took them a very long time to do it as well. Now what we're looking at is a fiberglass replica that was created to protect the original. The original frieze is about 3 feet or 1 meter behind that, so it's up there, but
It's more into the wall?
it's into the wall, and then the replica is built up in front of it. Now this actually represents some of the cosmology, the ideology, the gods, the rulers of the Maya. But this is a good view midway up.
Around 1960, British archaeologists came up with the theory that the Maya abandoned Xunantunich after the region was struck by an earthquake. The Maya were big on trade. Archaeologists looked for pottery remains, which the Maya used for currency.
To get up top, we'll need to go around the other side.
Okay.
This shows you what the rooms would have been like. And you can see some of the size of the stone that were brought up.
Did they use like log rolling techniques?
For the large stones, yeah. They would have like a slide almost that they built. And they would put like the palm trees that are pretty round. They would drag the bigger stones up. Want to go up?
Yeah. One thing people remember of the Maya is their practice of open-heart surgery on the victims they sacrificed. They believed that their gods wanted blood sacrifices or there would be no rain for the crops. So did they make sacrifices up here at all?
They've engaged in sacrifices, some murals like the one in San Bartolo. They have a mural painted on the wall, the victory of the war. And they had the Maya who were actually ripping out the fingernails from the people that they defeated. And the blood was squirting all over the place. And this was depicted in one of the sites there. And this contradicted the notion that the Maya earlier on, especially put forth by Eric Thompson, that the Maya were a utopian society, they were peaceful stargazers. And then they started to interpret the writing and the art. They realized, you know what, the Maya were good, they were very advanced, but they also had a brutal side, which was their warfare, sacrifices, bloodletting. So they started to understand a lot of that later on.
Here on the top of El Castillo, they say that they would make burning offerings to the gods. So today it's not raining. It'd be nice if it did. So I'm gonna take our little insect friend here to the Mayan gods.
If it rains, you ask for it.
Although Xunantunich is Maya for stone woman, they don't actually know what the name the Maya had for the city. The stone woman refers to a ghost story that started back in 1892. People reported seeing a woman dressed completely in white with her eyes glowing like fire. She usually showed up in front of El Castillo, walked up the stairs, and disappeared into a stone wall. Next we explored Cahal Pech, a much older Maya site which they established over 1,600 years before Xunantunich.
There's a dry termites trail. Don't see the nest. Trying to get you some termites.
Cool. Have you eaten them?
Yeah, tastes like carrots.
Carrots, that's what I heard.
see which one it is. If it's a small white one, then we can go for it.
They don't bite you?
No, they don't bite. After you bite them, then you get the taste.
Yeah.
High in protein, you won't starve.
You have to eat a lot though, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot in there.
Yeah, like a carrot, a little bit of mint at the end.
Yep.
We should make some hot sauce like that.
Termite flavored. So the main public plaza is this one here. You could access it from several different points.
Well, it feels more like a village that people would live in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that
It's
one
more intimate. You get to relive where they lived. So we have one of the rooms here. This is one of the platforms that served as a bed for the rulers or the elite. And they would have slept in here. And then you might have a little bit more privacy over in this area here. Now, I don't want to scare you, but there is a scorpion above your head.
So the room we were just in was right down there.
Right there, we came in.
And
Notice we walked a little bit.
there's a smaller room with that little archway. And then over there is something totally
That's
sealed
off. So I'm not sure exactly what is in there.
But there could be some Mayan gold in there, huh?
You might find jade.
Jade?
Gold wasn't as important for the Maya.
Yeah.
The green rock, jade is what they were after.
Jade's
So
cool.
you might find some Maya jade in there.
Let's do it. You got a shovel? I got a pickaxe.
I'll give you a little pickaxe and see how long it takes.
All right.
This is a not so traveled trail. Because most of the tourists are not very active.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta take the easy way. All right, so this is the corridor. This acts as the exit from Plaza A. And even now when it rains, Plaza A doesn't fill up, the water drains out from here. So one of the theories the archaeologists have is that even though the site was abandoned between 850 to 900 AD, people still kept coming back.
So it was kind of like a pilgrimage site. You know, you'd come back and do something with your family or with your clan and go back to where you lived.
If they feel strong enough and they want to return to the sites and perform their ceremonies, the Maya shaman usually invite them out, and they would have these ceremonies on site, even though nobody lives there, so that connection is still there for many Maya. In Belize, it's not so popular because most of the Maya that we have actually immigrated to Belize after, so they don't have a connection to the sites like some other places.
The temples were amazing because they show just how advanced the Maya became. As Andy pointed out, the Maya didn't just disappear, and they weren't conquered by an external enemy. But their cities became degraded, and the people just left.
Okay, so we're entering the ball court on this side of Cahal Pech. And the ball game was a very symbolic game for the Maya. Usually, the opposing team would be captured rulers or warriors from other sites that would compete against the home team.
Captured, so it wasn't really a fair game?
No.
Yeah.
So if they capture the rulers from the other sites, they would bring them over here, and they were pretty much forced to play this ball game. Usually, the losers were sacrificed, and some archaeologists also believe that the game was played in different occasions for prestige and honor for the winners. So it wasn't always about killing, but some archaeologists do believe that at the end, somebody was sacrificed, and usually it was the opposing team, the losers. And at the end, they were more than likely decapitated. What the Maya would also do is they would put the stakes, they put the head on the stakes and line the causeways coming up to the city with the decapitated heads. So it wasn't a very friendly game for people who lost.
Could it have been something like, volleyball, where there's a net in the middle, or like how, how did they score?
They don't have any depictions of it with a net in the middle. What they do have is the ball bouncing, the ball hitting, and of course, one idea behind it is if the ball touches the ground, then it's a point for the other team. So in that aspect, it's similar to volleyball. It's like a combination of soccer and volleyball. Mm-hmm. So you have like 2, 4, up to 6 people, one team over here, another team on the other side, and they would get the ball going. Of course, you had the rulers who were able to witness the game, but it wasn't open for everybody in the city. It wasn't like a public game where you could just show up. It was something that was very sacred for the Maya. Did you like the beer down there?
After our Maya adventure, we finally got word that we could film at Island Time Brewing, a new upstart brew house in San Pedro. I had heard about their Maya Pale Ale, made with a secret Mayan ingredient. So we packed up our gear and headed north to see what island time was all about.